Welcome to the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show with Larry Lawson. As a former career law enforcement officer and law enforcement educator, Larry focuses on the use of tried and true law enforcement investigative techniques in conducting paranormal investigations. Despite his experience and training, Larry also keeps an open mind to discussions on topics that deal with evidence that are not quite as physical in nature. Paranormal Stakeout guests are professionals in the field of the paranormal and parapsychology, conducting the investigations and research needed to further the cause of paranormal study. Larry advocates an agenda of standardization of structure and training in the field of paranormal investigation and research for the purpose of one day being able to produce the evidence needed to convince a jury of the existence of the paranormal. Whether it is ghosts, UFOs, unsolved mysteries, hauntings or cryptids, no topic is beyond the investigative reach of Larry Lawson and the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show team. Now, here is the host of the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show, Larry Lawson.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm your host, Larry Lawson, coming to you from the headquarters of the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation and Indian River Hauntings in beautiful Vero Beach, Florida. Want to start off the show, as most of you out there know, we had a visitor that came through in the form of a hurricane this last week. It missed our area completely, but I just want to send some thoughts to all those folks up in what we call the Big Bend of Florida, and that's where the bend turns to the west, and Crescent Beach and all a couple of the other little towns up there. The devastation was terrible, and I just want to send my thoughts and prayers to my fellow Floridians and pray that they will get through this, and also the folks in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina that also have been suffering from this storm. So keep them in your thoughts and prayers. A little bit about us. If you're interested in hearing about my team, the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation, you can go and check us out at paranormalfbi.com. That's our website. You can also catch us on Facebook. Indian River Hauntings is the subsidiary of that organization, and we do historical events. And you can get a hold of us there at IndianRiverHauntings.com or on Facebook, Indian River Hauntings. You can also check out what we do on YouTube at Indian River Hauntings 2341. You want to get a hold of me on this show? Just send me an email at ghostguy@paranormalstakeout.org. It's ghostguy@paranormalstakeout.org, and you can also check out my website at paranormalstakeout.org. So thanks for being here tonight. Got a really interesting show. A gentleman that I've been very anxious to get on the show and introduce him to all of you. His name is Lester Velez. Les is a graduate of the University of Vermont with a bachelor degree in business administration. Starting in September of 1970, he began to serve our country in the U.S. Army as a field artillery officer. After that, he later became the vice president of Luscombe Engineering, a Silicon Valley-based manufacturers representative company. He later, in the early 1990s, joined MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, and in 1991 has held several positions, including field investigator, training coordinator for field investigators, assistant state director in Northern California, chairman of the Abduction Experiencer Research Committee, and team leader of the Abduction Response Team. Also during that time, he became a facilitator for an abduction support group in San Jose, California, and in 1994 co-founded OPUS, the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support. So with that, I'd like to welcome to Paranormal Stakeout, Mr. Lester Velez. Les, welcome to the show.
Hey, Larry, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, been anxious to talk with you. Now, I've had a chance to see some of your stuff and know a bit about you, but many of my listeners may not. So tell us a little bit about yourselves. I went over a little bit of your bio, but tell us how you got into the field.
Yes. Well, it's interesting how these things happen to bring you down a certain path. It actually started for me when I was 11 years old, and I was living in Connecticut at the time. And I was coming into the house after feeding my dog. This was late in October, and it was already, pretty dark at that point. And I noticed off to my right, hovering over this tree line, not too far from me, this object, which was emanating a light, sort of a subdued white light. Um, and it wasn't no sound. There was no sound. And it was slowly moving from where it was to an area that was a couple of streets away in a southerly direction. And it scared the hell out of me because I didn't know what it was. And I ran into the house and uh, tried to get my father to come out. And by the time he did come out, it was gone, of course. And he said, "Oh, it's probably just a beacon of light reflecting off a cloud or something." Well, I didn't believe it. And I went to the library soon thereafter and, you know, picked up a couple of books on UFOs. And back in the late 50s, George Adamski was the guy that was
Mhm.
talking about UFOs and had some incredible books that he put out and pictures of these UFOs that he had taken. And so I was really got into it. Well, became an adolescent, and then UFOs kind of left my train of thought. And, girls became a little bit more interesting for me, and I kind of forgot about the whole thing. Went off to college. Became a member of the ROTC, and subsequently went into the service. When I graduated from college, I got married, and being an officer, I was able to bring my wife with me. Well, things were just going along, and in 1985, I had the opportunity to buy into a company in Northern California called Luscombe Engineering. And so I did. I moved out there and I picked up the San Jose Mercury News one day. And a gentleman by the name of Stanton Freeman, a nuclear physicist, was coming to San Jose
Mhm.
City College to talk about UFOs and the government cover up. Well, oh my God, it was like somebody threw a switch. And I said, I got to go see this guy. So I went there. I expected to see a handful of people, but the auditorium was packed. Um, Stanton did his one of his inimitable great presentations, and uh, on my way out, there was a table set up by an organization called MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, which was established in 1969 by a couple of engineers in Seguin, Texas, and they produce a monthly journal. And so I decided to get that journal and read about cases. Well, after a while, that wasn't enough for me. And they also had a field investigator training course. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to study up and see if I could pass this thing. And I did. And the cases that I got involved with, almost without exception, not only were people telling me about their sightings, but then they also told me that they had contact with non human intelligences, which the first case, I was kind of a nuts and bolts kind of a guy. Uh,
Mhm.
but after the second or third person telling me that they had contact with non-human intelligence, I said, something's going on, and it's pretty significant. And so the wheels started turning, and these people would ask me, do I know of other people having similar experiences? And the next thing I'm doing, I'm facilitating a support group in my office and listening.
Abductees or contactees.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, you can, the terminology, back in those days was abductees, but subsequently it's become contactees. Now it's experiencers. Okay,
Ah,
sort
okay.
of a neutral terminology. It could go either way. If it's an abductee, it has a negative connotation, or a contactee has a more positive, and the experiencer is neutral. So anyway, these people wanted to know if they could get together with other people, and I said sure. So we did, and I started to hear incredible stories. And one day I got a call from the head of MUFON, and he said this reporter down in Monterey would like to speak with you about what you're doing. And I said, well, okay, sure. You can give him my contact information. And we had a nice conversation. He wrote up this great article. And he had my picture on the front of this Coast Weekly paper, and subsequently I got a call from a woman down in Carmel, and she wanted to find out what was going on with her brain when she was in contact with these off-earthly entities. And I said to myself, well, I have no idea how I could possibly help her. But then she said she was working with an emergency room doctor in Carmel. And I had a doctor friend, Dr. Eugene Lipson, who was very interested in working with other doctors that were interested in the phenomena. So I said, why don't we go down there and let's talk to her at least, and then you could meet this other doctor. So we walked into her house, and there was a picture on the wall, and she's standing on the back of this vessel, a fairly good sized vessel, and obviously beautiful crystal clear blue waters in the Caribbean somewhere. And I said, what's this all about? And she says, well, I was helping these treasure hunters. And I said, really? I said, how were you doing that? She says, well, I was in contact with the captain of the galleon that had gone down. And that started the afternoon off. Okay. And we subsequently found out that because of a near death experience that she had, she became very psychic. And these capabilities in contacting these off-earthly entities became a really prominent part of her life. And so when we left that afternoon, um, it was like, how can we possibly help people like that? And that's when OPUS was hatched, the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support. We we said, well, if this kind of thing is going on, we need to be able to try to figure out how to help people like that. So it's been an incredible journey, and we can go into what we've actually ended up doing. But she told us stuff about ourselves the rest of the afternoon that there was no possible way that she could be uh, have that kind of knowledge, because we didn't know her from Adam until she called us.
In case I missed this, so she had the psychic ability as a result of
Yes,
of
near
her
death,
near
near
death
death
experience,
experience. Yes, yeah.
but no contact with alien beings at this point.
No, she was in contact with them, but it was telepathic type of
Okay. I
contact.
guess that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So you're telling me there's a bridge between folks that have that gift, that ability,
Hmm.
and not only contacting maybe folks such as I investigate spirits,
Hmm.
but you're also saying aliens.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
all right. Well, I definitely want to examine that a little bit further too, because that is a big issue today. So go on. So Opus was formed, and you've been working that ever since?
Right. In 1994, we officially became a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we've been
Hmm.
doing what we do, which is basically we have three different things that we've been able to help people with. Number one is a confidential online support group. Where we have almost 400 people from around the world that are talking to one another 24/7, telling their stories, asking their questions, which is monitored by a number of people in our organization. And then we
Hmm.
have a referral network of mental health practitioners and
Okay.
hypnotherapists that we can uh, you know refer these people to if that's what they're looking for. And then we have the third thing, which is a relatively new for us, which we call our E.S.T, our Experiencer Support Team. These are people that have had a lot of experience in working with people like this, um,
Hmm.
and basically talking to them and finding out what it is that they're really looking for, how we can possibly help them, or just talk
Well,
to them.
well, good. And I want to examine that definitely further, but we got to take our first break. This
Mhm.
time's already flying by. So, folks, stay with us. I've got Les Velez from Opus. Uh, Join us after this break, or after these messages. And we are back with my guest tonight, Les Velez. Les, I got to bring something up right up front. Opus, the
Mhm.
your organization there. The thing that I like most about that is you use the word paranormal.
Mhm.
So often, at least folks on my side of the fence, paranormal means strictly spirits, ghosts. But paranormal is anything outside the norm of science, and I'm kind of glad to see that in the title. You've explained a little bit about Opus, but you're also involved with the Abduction Response Team and the Abduction Experiencer Research Committee. What are those, and how do they
Sure.
operate with Opus?
Well, what happened back in it was probably 2007. MUFON typically was a nuts and bolts type of an organization, and they really didn't pay much attention to people that were having experiences like what we're going to be talking about tonight. And they did not have a protocol. And so I talked to James Carrion, who was the international director at that time, and I said, "You guys are missing the boat on this thing. I think you guys should be helping these people." So what happened was we made an arrangement where all the calls that were coming into MUFON at that time were directed to me, to OPUS. Um, and I would be taking those calls and working with these people and trying to help them out. Okay. Well, that started the ball rolling with MUFON, and they came back to me and said, "Look, we'd like to have you uh, do a study, okay, on these people." And
Mm-hmm.
so I got together with a couple of psychologists, and we developed what we call the omega-3 study, which is
Mm-hmm.
a takeoff after the Omega study that Kenneth, oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name right now, who had done from the University of Connecticut. Um, and so what we did is we took 71 people that claimed that they had contact with non-human intelligences, and 51 people as a control group. And we had them look at 9 different instruments. These are psychological type of questionnaires. And
Okay.
we came up with the fact, number one, and probably one of the most important things, is that these people did not have a psychopathology. Okay. They weren't crazy.
Okay.
Okay. The second
And
thing,
how did you determine that?
this was through the
The
instrumentation.
testing.
Yeah,
Okay.
the testing that we did. Yeah.
Okay.
Which was quite well known in the psychological realm, if you will. The second thing that we came up with, and debunkers talk about, well, these people are fantasy prone, and they're coming up with making up stories. Well, they weren't fantasy prone. This was not an indicator at all in any of the testing that we did. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there were childhood conflicts, okay, stressors that cause these people to dissociate, but not in a psychopathological way, but in a way of handling what was going on. Um, and then after these experiences, these people had a worldview that was very different. How they processed what was around the world, the effects of the world on them. They came back with these very positive thoughts about, hey, we need to be better stewards of the planet. We need to be better to one another. We need to be more loving. So, and these were all the majority of these people came back with these very positive type feelings. Um, and the other thing that we came up with, and again through this instrumentation, that there was a difference in the temporal lobe activity of the experiencers versus the control group. And this is something that needs further, uh, you know, investigation. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
that why is that occurring, or what is causing that to be the case? And there's been some studies done by Gary Nolan from Stanford University, where they found that in the caudate putamen area, there's a lot more connections in people that have the psychic abilities, telepathic capabilities, and it seems to run in families. And it seems like the entities, these non-human intelligences, like to follow these people for whatever reason. So it was really interesting. So getting back to your original question, um, what I did was set up the A.E.R.C. in order to. I brought in a whole bunch of really good people to come up with this idea of how we were going to do this study. And then
Mm-hmm.
uh, part of that outshoot of that was the A.R.T, the Abduction Response Team, where if we did have someone that was really involved with these entities that we could go out there and work with them. Subsequently, this was the precursor to MUFON's eventual setting this whole thing up for themselves, and it's called the E.R.T, the Abduction, or excuse me, the Experiencer Resource Team. And I'm actually on that as a research consultant
Now, you
for
you
them.
had mentioned that you brought in some top-notch folks. Who
Yeah.
were they? Is there who were they? And is this study, the study that were done, are they public? Can
Yes.
the
Yes,
Okay.
the omega-3 study, and you can see names of people on that is on our
Mhm.
website. If you go to opusnetwork.org in the article and um, section,
Mhm.
that the full report is there. It's a 28-page report
Excellent.
with a lot of boring statistics. But yeah, if you're into statistics, we got them.
Right.
But yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's really it's fascinating. And matter of fact, we're in a process of doing the omega-4 study, and we have the phase 1 of that done, and that's also on our site, where we went out to therapists and asked them to explain the types of things that they're seeing and the types of modalities that they're utilizing to work with these people. And one of the things that we found out, which I think you'll find interesting, is the fact that most people that are coming to these therapists are dealing with grays. Okay. The second thing that they're dealing with are orbs. This orb situation comes up a lot. And the third thing was interdimensionals, and the fourth thing was poltergeist activity. And so there's a real connection to all of this. It's all connected in some way, shape, or form. And one of the things that has occurred with Opus over the years is the fact that, as you mentioned earlier, that paranormal is part of our
Mhm.
our title, and so we talk about kundalini awakening, we talk about poltergeist activity, we talk about demons, angels, all that kind of stuff. But it seems like most of the people that are contacting us for whatever reason are talking about the contact with these non-human intelligences, which could be the grays, it could be interdimensionals, it could be time travelers, it could be our
Mhm.
military, which is a distinct possibility.
There's a lot of possibilities. Now, I'm gonna back up just a little bit here.
Hmm.
I spent 4 decades as a cop. I've talked to a lot of people,
Hmm.
interviewed a lot of folks, and the
Yep.
one thing that I have found is that there are a lot of folks out there that will just make stuff up
Oh, sure.
for different reasons. That
Mhm,
lie because they want their name in the paper, lie
mhm,
because they're having some sort of mental health issues.
mhm.
How did you vet this original group other than saying it happened to me? I know you tested them, but were there interviews one-on-one? How did you vet these folks to
Yeah,
really
it
verify
was
their stories?
yeah, the bottom line on all this is that there are ways to tell, in these instrumentation that we used, which again is noted in the
Mhm,
study, uh, that would bring that up. You could tell, right away, utilizing these instruments, that this particular person, yes, there's something not right. We need to, either exclude them. But the
mhm.
majority of the people, as I said earlier, that they did not have a psychopathology. They weren't fantasy prone. Okay, so we right away that takes a lot of those
Yeah,
questions off the
and
table.
these were psychoanalysts, psychologists that
Oh yeah,
were part of the
absolutely.
team. Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not a psychologist, but I was the guy that kind of you know got these guys together and said, okay, let's do this. This is what we want to try to
Mhm.
accomplish. And so I was managing the whole process.
Gotcha. Uh, because that's one thing that I run into a lot is
Hmm.
prove it.
Yeah,
Well, we know what people have experienced. I know what I've experienced, but proving it's a whole different ballgame. So that's
mm,
why these questions have to come out, and we
sure.
have to talk about how we vet folks because that,
Hmm.
like I said, I've
Mm.
people lie to the police all the time.
Oh,
So
sure.
I got
Oh, absolutely.
I got kind of used to that. Okay, so you spend most of your time with MUFON. You really don't investigate UFOs or UAPs. Your focus is the experiencers, as you say.
Correct. Yes, that's
Okay.
absolutely correct. Yeah, we do know investigation. If somebody wants to investigate, what we do is we do ask them to go to MUFON. If they have a
Hmm.
case that they feel that they would like to have somebody on the ground, come out and visit them and do that kind of thing, then we'll recommend that they go to MUFON. We have a good
Hmm.
relationship with them. As a matter of fact, we have a list of mental health practitioners and hypnotherapists, and we share that information with MUFON, and they share their list with us, and which is good because this is the way it should be. There's so many organizations out there that they don't want to talk to anybody. They want to keep everything
Yep.
all wrapped up close to themselves, and that's ridiculous. You know,
Yes.
we're trying to help people, and that's the
And I
that's
agree.
the important thing.
How often, and I've interviewed a number of folks that are claimed to be abductees, experiences, if you will, and
Hmm.
some of their stories are off the charts. I
Hmm.
mean, off the charts. And I'm going to ask you some questions just to
Sure.
find how much of that is actual truth. But how often do you find somebody is giving you a story and they are suffering from mental delusion, mental health issues, or they're just lying? Percentage between that and folks that are coming to you and giving you what you feel is a real story.
There is a small minority that once you start talking to them, you can't get a word in edgewise. You can ask them a question and it's almost they ignore it, and they just keep going on and on and on, and so right away you get the sense that there's something else going on here. And that's when you say, well, look, I don't know if I can help you. Have you gone to see your friendly local psychologist or psychiatrist?
I got
uh,
one that's coming to mind right now. He likes the color blue. That's all I can say. At any rate, we got to
okay.
take our next break. I won't
Okay.
go any further than that. We got to
Okay.
take our next break, but we've got a ton more questions, folks. So stay with us. I'm with Les Velez. We're talking about alien experiencers. So stay with us. We'll be right back after these messages. And we are back with my guest, Les Velez. Fascinating story, and I want to start off this next session. I've talked about some of the problems that I've personally had with
Hmm.
folks that are on the ghost side of it, if you will, that are making
Hmm.
things up or exaggerating things,
Right.
even lying, doing fraudulent things. I'm
Yeah.
sure you have that experience too. How do we police that? In your opinion, how
Yeah.
can we police that? Because that hurts all of us.
Yeah. I think first of all, when these people come to us, we ask them to tell us a little bit about their experience.
Hmm.
And a lot of them, almost without exception, start off by saying, "Yeah, you might think this is crazy," and and they go on from there. And they're very concerned about the fact that they have not been able to talk to people, that family members are not open to this conversation with them, that they haven't been able to talk to fellow co-workers or clergy or things
Hmm.
like that, and they're very stressed. They're extremely stressed, um, and right away you get the sense that these people are very sincere, that they're not trying to blow smoke up your tailpipe, so to speak. um, and but then there's others that that come in and, oh my God, you're not going to believe, and then they go on, and they embellish things too, and then you go back and ask them questions, and then it's a different story, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so you get.
I like the ones that say, I really don't want to tell anybody about this because I don't want anybody to think I'm crazy, but they'll get on a show such as mine and tell
Yeah,
the world. So,
right, yeah,
it makes sense. But
yeah.
how do we police that? How, because that does harm the field when you get folks that say, for whatever reason, crazy things. Do you have a thought on how we can police
Well,
that?
I think in our particular situation is when people do come to us, They're coming to us because they're looking for assistance. They're looking for help. They're reaching out because they're stressed and things of
Mhm.
that nature. So 9 times out of 10, they want to go be put into the support group, or they want somebody from the EST to contact them and talk to them. So we right away you have two levels of filtration, so to speak. The minute
Mhm.
they go into the support group and they start talking to the group, okay, and either
Mhm.
telling their story or asking their questions, it becomes quite evident after a while, based on the way they write up their questions or
Mhm.
tell their stories, that either they're being sincere, or there's something else going on. And the same thing goes with the EST group, where these people get an opportunity to talk to these people, and they've had conversations with many people, and so they understand that yeah, either there's something off here, or they're fine, and they're stressed because of the experience that they've had. So
Mhm.
we look at it in a different way. Our main focus is to try to help people, and I've only had to tell probably a handful of people over the years, after monitoring the site, and we have a couple of people that monitor the support group, um, that you probably should, if you haven't already, visit your local psychologist or psychiatrist, and have a session with them before you come back. Um, and that usually takes care of it. So it's once you start working with these people, you get a feel for the ones that are, again, not being truthful, or
I think we need to call them out. I think we need to call
yeah,
them out.
yeah,
But,
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And
what
and that's what, and we do it in a nice way. We do it in a nice way by saying, "Hey, look,
means
maybe
yeah,
you need
yeah,
to
no
go
need to
see
be
it."
mean-spirited.
Right,
Okay, unless
right,
they're really trying to pull the wool over your eyes. Now,
right.
let's move on to another subject here because I wanna know why. Why are we being contacted? We've talked a little bit about the characteristics, psychological,
Mm,
physiological,
mhm.
uh, aspects of it, but why is it happening?
Well,
Why do you think it's happening?
well, it's nothing new. This has been going on since man has been, on this earth, and perhaps the fact is that these entities have created mankind to a certain degree. I mean, there's many.
Chariots of the gods, remember.
Exactly, that they've messed with our genes and manipulated us to the extent of where we are right now. And I mentioned Gary Nolan before. He had a very interesting presentation that he did, where he talked about the fact that, well, geologists say that our Earth is 4.5 billion years old, and that our genome changes about every 600,000 years. Well, to have man be where he is right now, the planet would actually have to be 9 billion years old. So if that's not the case, then somebody messed with our genes way back when to get us to where we are right now. I mean, these are some of the fascinating things that are going on, and I think what they're doing is that they're following their experiment. This is something that's going on. I talk about the fact that this is like a school for these entities, and that we're not at the top of the food chain. This is just another level of reality that we
So we're just a laboratory for them. That's what I'm hearing. We're basically a laboratory for them.
pretty much, and again, we're just not at the top of the food chain. There's a whole another level of reality that we do not fully understand. Maybe some people understand it a lot better than others, but most of us don't.
True. And what that other reality could be the what?
Well, the other reality is, whether it's interdimensionals, is it
Okay.
time travelers, is it extraterrestrial in nature? Is it our military that's messing with us, which is also a distinct possibility.
That's happened in the past.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a topic that you're also familiar with, hybridization.
Yes. Hmm. Yeah.
Explain what that is and explain once again why. Why is it happening?
Well, let's start off with the why, I guess. First of all, well, hybridization. First of all, maybe a back it up a little bit further, is the fact that, people are being abducted. In this case, I'll use the word abduction because most of the time when this occurs, people definitely don't want this to happen, where they're put on a table. In the case of men, semen is extracted. In the case of women, eggs are extracted.
Mhm.
And then it's combined with these entities, DNA, if you will.
Mhm.
And then these entities that come out of this, in most cases, look pretty strange. Um, but supposedly, according to David Jacobs, that they've perfected this hybridization process to the point where you can't tell them from you or me. You could be walking down the street and it's actually a hybrid. Um, and
So
there's a
we have them here with us in our society, is what you're saying.
Yes, yes, according to
Okay.
many people that are claiming that to be the case. And there's a fascinating book, I don't know if you're familiar with it, called Rachel's Eyes, by
Mhm.
Helen Luttrell. And she was regressed by one of our board members, June Steiner. And it's a fascinating book. It tells the story about Helen's daughter going to school, college, with a hybrid, and she was definitely very strange looking. And she was also brought food to eat by the military. And without going into more detail, that book, I tell you, if you haven't read it yet, you ought to get it. It's called Rachel's Eyes, and it tells
Rachel's
the
eyes.
story,
Okay.
and it tells about the crash retrieval end of the military that is organized, very well organized, and they do this, and they find entities all the time, and they try to integrate them. And this
Mhm.
was one of those cases, and this came out with Grush, at the congressional hearings,
Yep. Heard
that
it. Yep.
we have crashed UFOs, we have alien bodies. This,
Here's
we're
my
not.
problem. Here's my problem with that, though. Once again, going back to the cop world.
Mhm,
And look, I hunt ghosts. I investigate ghosts. So I
mhm,
get there's more out there than we know. But the question I always get asked is, where's the proof? And frankly, in our field, we've got a lot of work to do to enhance our equipment to get better at what we do. But I'm hearing about um, hybrids among us.
mhm.
I'm hearing about the crash sites. And one thing about being a cop is if more than one person knows about it, it's not a secret anymore. Now, we do have the whistleblowers coming out talking about it, but there is still yet to have physical evidence of it. Unlike my side, where there's really not a lot of physical evidence with what I do, there is allegedly with these aliens. Why haven't we seen it? Why hasn't somebody smuggled something out? I mean,
Yeah, well, Michio Kaku talks about the fact that, hey, look, next time you get abducted, steal the ashtray, off the ship
bingo.
or something
Yeah.
like that. But the bottom line, there is proof, there is evidence, and
Where?
well, have you heard of Dr. Roger Lear that has extracted implants from people, 17 different people, and these let me read you what these implants were. Okay.
Okay.
These objects, no inflammatory rejection reaction by the body to these foreign bodies. Okay, which that's very unusual. You get a splinter in your finger, and right away it hurts. Okay,
And it eventually pushes it out. Yep, I agree.
no visible portal of entry. Collections of specialized nerve endings surrounding the object. An outer coating of ceramic biological material. A metallic phase where inorganic metal becomes biological tissue. The emission of
Mhm,
radio waves, which are deep space frequencies in the FM band. Okay, wait a minute
mhm,
now. So where is that? Who's monitoring that? Electromagnetic fields in excess of 10 milligauss. Composition of meteoric iron 66. Rare earth metals such as U-236, a single isotope of uranium existing by itself, as well as elements such as iridium, which is
mhm.
very rare and hard to find in the Earth's crust. non-terrestrial, this is interesting, non-terrestrial isotopic ratios indicating that the evolved elements did not come from Earth. The existence of nanotubes and nanostrands and nanofibers. And he had a patient that had an implant that went on, like 46 years ago, and we didn't have that technology. We do have nano carbon tubes right now. Metallic caverns that are no larger than the diameter of one atom. Resistance to ordinary cutting techniques such as metallic sawing or severing with cutting instruments. One of the specimens had to be cut with a laser. I mean,
Tons of stuff.
that's proof. That's proof.
Well, it is, but when we get back, I want to ask you, because I have an open mind. This is not. I'm not being argumentative.
Yeah.
But I want to know where this stuff is, and we're going to talk about that when we come back after this break. So stay with us, folks, with my guest Les Velez. And we're back with our last session. Les, this has gone really, really quick. Just a fascinating discussion. I do want to remind everybody, if you want to learn a little bit more about my organization, the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation, check us out at paranormalfbi.com or on Facebook with Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation, and also IndianRiverHauntings.com. Check out some of our videos at on YouTube at Indian River Hauntings 2341. And also get a hold of me at ghostsky at paranormalstakeout.org. Send us a question, thoughts, and comments, and we'll bring them up at the beginning of the show. I also want to remind everybody, there's some great programming on the X Zone Broadcast Network. Go to xzbn.net and check out all the great shows there. I think you'll find some fascinating stuff. But Les, how can folks learn more about you and get a hold of you?
Absolutely. Well, the easiest place to go is right down there in the bottom of my picture here, opusnetwork.org. If you go there, you'll get a full overview of what we're all about, articles, documents that we have on our site, recommended readings, and an interview series where actually I interview people as well. And I've had a lot of good interviews there. One of the most recent ones was with an ex-CIA gentleman by the name of John Ramirez. And he told me some pretty interesting facts about there's going to be even bigger revelations coming down the pike here very soon with regard to the extraterrestrial phenomena.
And see, once again, that's the biggest difference between your side and my side of the paranormal world. We're still working to get the evidence out there, something that we could share with the scientific world. I'm hearing from you that it's there. What's keeping it from coming out? If, for example, the doctor you just mentioned who took out all the implants, where are those implants? All the ones that, where are they?
Well, if you go to my book, The Unknown Other and the Existential Proposition of Alien Contact, these things were examined by very high well, not high is not the right word I should use. These are labs that have great credentials. Okay, this is where the information came from after they were analyzed, and so all of that information, there's a trail of I forget the word here that they use, a trail of anyway. Bottom line is that somebody has it. They know where
we call
it
it
is.
Chain of custody. We call it chain of custody in my business.
That's there you go. You know that better than me. Yeah.
But if we have the chain of custody, that means we can follow it.
Yes.
So where is it?
Well,
where is it?
Well, believe me.
Is it good?
I don't have it. Believe me, I don't have it.
I believe you don't. But what I'm getting at is if this stuff was taken out, and this is one thing that I really harp on my side of the fence, is collection and preservation of evidence and keeping that appropriate chain of custody so it can be shown that nothing's been done untoward with the evidence. So once again, and I'm not a rhetorical question, okay?
Sure.
Where is it?
Yeah.
And why can't we see it? Is this something that's going to come out with some of these later
I think
hearings,
I think that's probably just going to be a very small subset of what's going to be coming out,
because that will shut everything down. If somebody comes out and says, look at these implants taken out of these folks, and here's the metallurgic breakdown of it, and it's not from this earth, that's going to solve a lot of problems.
Well,
but it's got to
and he wrote a book, Alien in the Scalpel, which I believe that he talks about perhaps where that is. He's passed away, unfortunately.
Hmm.
But I don't think he's the one that. And that's a good question. That's a very good question. I don't know. I brought this up simply to tell people that this is what happened. This is what happened when they took these things out. These were the results
Hmm.
verified by these labs. Okay. Now, where those things are right now, I don't know.
And the problem is, you cannot take that to a court of law and say this is proof. You can't, because you can't produce it. Now,
Yeah.
hopefully we'll get to the
Mhm.
point where they will produce it. But right
Yep.
now you can't.
Yep.
And that once again it hurts my side of the fence when I can't produce evidence. So
Mhm.
it's got to hurt your
Sure.
side also. Here's
Well,
another question. Go
yeah.
ahead.
Go ahead. No,
Go ahead.
no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna this is something I got, and I do not profess to be an expert in the UFO field. I'm
Mhm.
not. I'm learning quite a bit from folks like you. But I've heard that there is over 84 species of aliens that have visited this Earth or contacted this Earth. And is there any truth to that?
Well, I've heard numbers from those kind of numbers, even higher
Mhm,
numbers. Okay. I have no proof whatsoever that that's the case. The main
mhm,
ones that we deal with, okay, are the grays, are the mantid types, are the reptilian types, are the Nordic types.
mhm,
Those are like the four main categories. Now, if you talk to Linda Moulton Howe, there's three types that have uh, been mostly involved, okay,
mhm,
with our government, okay. You know, Haim Eshed, this retired Israeli general security uh, group in Israel, brought out a book, and he talked about the fact that yes, we've been in cahoots with these entities for quite some time, um, and that they don't want to show themselves in any way, shape, or form at this point because we're not ready. That we have bases on the moon, we have bases on Mars. We've been traveling around the universe
why bring it
for
up?
quite some time.
Why? This is another question. Why would they bring if they can't prove it? If they don't want, if whoever they're dealing with doesn't want to us to know about them because we're not ready, why even bring it up?
Well, well, they didn't they didn't bring it up. This general brought it up because he knew
Well, that's my
what you
point.
do. Yeah, and I think all these people that are testifying now, okay,
That's
uh,
yeah.
are 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 very sincere, very well respected people, and they're having a hard time because the Pentagon doesn't want this stuff to come out. There's
And I
there's
think
there's two
I
major forces going on. You have people that want this story to come out, and you have people that don't want the story to come out. Okay. And why is that?
okay.
Because the people
There's
that
there's the
have the
question.
power, people that have the power want to remain in power. And,
Mhm,
and, and they also, from a security standpoint, a national security standpoint, if they start revealing that we do have technology that we've reverse engineered, we don't want our friendly enemies to understand that the Russians or the Chinese or the Koreans or the Iranians to have that kind of knowledge. So
y
it's a very interesting time that we're living in right now.
and I agree, but wouldn't you also agree that if we're finding this stuff, if we're hiding it and we're reverse engineering it, and we don't want our enemies to know, you gotta believe that they're also finding stuff, and they're also working on reverse engineering
Oh,
it. Would
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. They are, and it's a arms race again, like the Cold War,
Mhm,
But this is happening now because both sides have evidence. Crashed UFOs supposedly,
mhm.
alien bodies. So hey, it's
But the
it's gonna.
would you agree, though, that the time has come? I mean, I'm I work out very hard on my side of the field, but
Mhm,
my side of the field does not have the same security uh, concerns that
mhm,
your side of the field does.
right.
Isn't it about time if this stuff is real, that it be brought out so we can all see it? Because it's not helping these bits and pieces coming out,
Mhm.
but we're not seeing the proof.
Yeah.
And I'm open-minded. I do not know what's out there. There are
Yeah.
things that we
Mm.
don't understand, but if they've got some hard evidence, time to share it.
Oh, I agree. I totally agree. I mean, you wouldn't get an argument from any of the people in this field at all. We want this. We relish this
Mhm.
that's going on. I mean, we have multiple senators, congressmen. A very bipartisan effort to get this stuff out.
Mhm.
And so I don't know if you saw that congressional hearing, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I mean, that was amazing. I mean, you had people in that room, Democrats on one side and Republicans on the other, that basically hated themselves most of the time, but they came together in
They
this.
agree, and I have friends that disagree with the two pilots that testified to what they saw, but I am not going to dispute two gentlemen that are serving our country proudly, defending it. So I've got to
Uh,
put some stock in what they're saying,
oh, absolutely.
but at the same time, we got to start putting, our money where our mouth is. And if there's evidence out there, if there's so many people talking about it, there's got to be a way to produce that evidence. I mean,
And it's being
there's got
worked
to
on.
be.
It's being
Oh,
worked on. I'm part of another organization that's just getting off the ground, and they have been working with the Congress to start supplying more information and more evidence. So it's the time has come this year. I think before the end of the year, you're going to be talking about a whole another ball game.
what I'm fascinated in the last couple of minutes of the show here is there's so much talk now, and you've mentioned it earlier about
Mhm.
the psychological, the psychokinetic angle to this, connecting UFOs with ghosts. I personally haven't seen it yet.
Mhm.
I've not experienced
Mhm.
that kind of connection, but there are many people that have. And I'm waiting to see if there's going to be a connection made between the UFO community, the cryptid community, who many people believe that Bigfoot is a dimensional
Yes,
creature. And is
right.
that what we've got going on here? I was on a show last night where folks were talking about actual wormholes being
Hmm.
maybe a part of this whole thing.
Right.
Way beyond my pay grade. I'm just an old cop, but that's,
Yeah.
lots of things are happening.
Oh, I mean, this is physics that we don't fully understand, and so when people say, "Well, we can't go faster than the speed of light," but maybe you don't have to go faster than the speed of light if you can get into a wormhole, or or
Well,
or or, or, or a portal. And there's talk about portals. I mean, the matter of
mhm,
fact, there was a show Kathleen Corey did on Terror in the Sky, where they actually
mhm,
filmed a portal opening up. Um,
mhm.
and a lot of times these orbs, I've seen pictures of orbs where you could actually see gray aliens in the orb. You could actually see their
Really?
faces. Yeah, you could see
Well,
them. One being close to the front of the orb, some in the background looking in different
You're you're
directions.
you're talking to a guy that doesn't put much stock in orbs. I'm sorry. I never have. Just from my side of the fence. But
Yeah.
here's the bottom line. We've got about 35 seconds less.
Okay.
Um, the time has come where if this is going to be taken seriously, the evidence has got to come out because until that
Yeah.
time, it's going to be fringe science. Any parting words in the last 15, 20 seconds?
Well, I think the thing is that you need to be open-minded, certainly. And if you do have issues with contact with non-human intelligences and you're looking for assistance, please come to our site, opusnetwork.org. Please go to our YouTube channel as well. Hit the subscribe button, the like button, and
Okay.
you'll see interviews there that I've done.
We'll look forward to it. And folks, thank you for watching. Thank you, Les, for being on the show. It was very fascinating. And everybody out there, please take care. Love your family. Take care of yourselves. And we'll see you on the other side. Have a good night.